Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news as another ex-Manchester United coach slams what is effectively player power at Manchester United, and we send the message to Amarim and INEOS, you've got to change this. We're bored of it. We're so bored of it. I mean, there are questions about NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. Renie Heck was actually coaching this team a few weeks ago. He's now talking about issues with these players and them not being open to change when they're being spoken to, which is incredible when we consider the amount of money that we spend on these players and they're not willing to change. Incredible stuff. And I think that INEOS and Amarim need to be, making a change with this. So we've got some very interesting quotes coming out from Renie Heck. Why he's not under a non-disclosure agreement like Ten Hag is up for debate. Also, Southampton's manager has come out laughing at us, trying to sign one of their players. We'll talk about that. I mean, when the Southampton manager's trying to laugh at us, that's something completely I find hilarious, considering he's a joke himself. Also, we've got updates on Ahmad, left back, that apparently would be impossible for the club we're going to bid to refuse, and it's nothing to do with Leon, who's coming in as well. And I want to talk a little bit about the Rashford situation, which is now becoming a bit of a sympathy situation, because apparently there was a bit of footage of him after the game on Thursday with his head in his hands, and some of our fans are now saying, I just feel really sorry for him. Let's get our star boy back. I mean, look, it's an interesting one. We're here to talk about the things that some people are scared to talk about. That's what we do as a community. So we'll dive into that as well. Let's get straight into it, though. I want to talk about some of these comments coming in from Renie Heck. Now, if you don't know who Renie Heck is, he was brought in the summer with Ruud van Nistelrooy to work alongside Erik ten Hag as his assistant coach. He only got sacked or removed about a month ago. So he was literally training our players in August, September, October, and a little bit of November. So this is somebody that's absolutely at the rock face with these sets of players. When you get Mourinho talking or Arley talking about problems, obviously a lot of those players won't be here anymore. Renie Heck is dealing with this squad, and this is what he had to say. Sometimes, when you're trying to guide players at Manchester United, sometimes a player will say, at this moment, I'd rather not change anything about my game. That's okay. You accept that too. So, I mean, that's just incredible. We talk about player power and we know it exists. We talk about the toxicity in the dressing room. We know it exists. And we know it exists because we see the continued inconsistent poor performances from so many players. So we know that there's a problem when you look at United and you look at somebody like Arne Slot, who's gone into Liverpool with as a brand new manager and a brand new set of coaches, and those players have responded. Now, the difference between Man United and Liverpool is that this is the point I'm making, and I feel like sometimes you're knocking on wood on somebody's forehead, and all you're getting is a hollow sound because they don't want to listen to what is the big problem at Manchester United. It's the playing staff. Yes, we need to improve the fitness. Yes, we need to improve the coaching. But the players have been the problem for nearly 10 years, probably longer than 10 years. If Arne Slot can walk into a Liverpool team with a new set of coaches and put them top of the league and top of the Champions League, yes, Jurgen Klopp did the foundation, but what is the foundation? It's the playing squad. One manager leaves, another manager comes in, no correlation, no continuity, puts them top of the league because the players and the squad and the dressing room have the right mentality and the right focus and the right consistency. Man United keep bringing in what look like good coaches and they keep failing because they're inheriting a squad of inconsistent players that aren't actually good enough. And until INEOS actually remove those players, instead of trying to polish the turd, we will continue to struggle. And then when you get someone like Renie Heck saying that, we're talking to these players and sometimes they're saying, I really don't want to change anything about my game. What's all that about? I mean, I can't put my head around that. So if I'm training a squad as the manager and I say to a player, why aren't you doing this? And they say this to me, well, I don't want to do it. I really don't think it's the right thing for me. I'd be like, I tell you what, that car, get in it, drive and keep driving because you're out. But this is player power, isn't it? I mean, at what football club do you have players going, I'd rather not do that? I understand what you're trying to do, but I'd rather not do that. I'd rather stick to what I do, you know. And look, for example, how would that work? Please stop shooting from 35 yards out because we want to build a system that's more about creating chances in the box. I see what your point is. I'd rather not do that. I'd rather keep shooting. Stop doing Hollywood passes because we want to keep possession and not give it away. Yeah, I'd rather not do that. I don't want to change my game. Can we get the defensive line high up, please? Because that's what we want to play. I'd rather not. I prefer to play on the edge of the box. I mean, look, I'm giving examples of things that have been frustrating for us over the last couple of years. And you might be thinking I'm targeting certain players there. I'm not. I'm just saying we hit our, you know, you might think when I say Hollywood pass Bruno, I've seen Harry Maguire hit countless diagonals to Rashford. So, like, this is what I mean. That's what that would mean from Renie Heck. When he says they're asking players to do things and they're going, I'd rather not, that's basically a player saying, I don't want to do what you're doing. I want to keep doing what I want to do. I mean, that's just incredible. That is absolutely incredible. And that is why, when you look at what's going on with Amarim, we will have bad results. We will have a storm, because if that's what he's dealing with, I mean, I'm not really bothered about Renie Heck or Ruud van Nistelrooy or Erik ten Hag because they've gone. But I like the glimpse. I like the information. And then you apply that information to today, and it makes sense that this is going to be a real struggle for Amarim because he has such defined, identifiable ways of playing that are completely foreign to us as fans, so will be completely unorthodox to our players. But if you've got players in there that have previously said, I don't really want to do that, then you can see how this could become problematic for us to adjust. James says, Amarim may fail. We need to understand where we are. And hope you're doing well, Mark, says Ananta. I'm getting a little bit better. Yeah, you know, not as bad as I was a couple of days ago. Looking forward to the 3 p.m. watch-alongs, by the way. And obviously Manchester Derby tomorrow, which will be great. Look, that's what he said. But he also, you know, some of you might be going on to say, oh, you know what? I wonder if he's talking about certain players here. Well, this is what he said. He said, Marcus Rashford, Garnacho were quickly open to working on their timing with deep runs. With Bruno Fernandes, it was obviously often about positioning during our build-up play. So that is added context, because I think a lot of people might think, oh, he's talking about Rashford, he's talking about Garnacho, he's talking about Bruno, when actually he went on in the same interview to speak about those three players and how open they were to trying new things. So there you go, just throwing it in there just in case people are going, oh, it's this player, it's that player. I think it's very important to do that. This was my favourite bit about what Renie Heck said, though, because we use this now as a lack of football IQ at Manchester United, because I think this is continually what we're seeing. Renie Heck, who has been at United for 4 months, obviously lost his job last month, was asked about what the difference is between a top-level player and a lower-level player. And he said it comes down to football intelligence, seeing solutions, the ability to learn, but it's also in the mental aspect, wanting to execute something well and continuing to execute it well, even on the 36th attempt. With Casemiro, I sometimes thought he senses things when it really matters. He has an antenna. He already feels what's going to happen on the field. So look, obviously he was talking about, you know, IQ and used Casemiro as an example. Now, you can't, look, I think Casemiro's fell off. I think some of us think that. But you can't question his football IQ. His game might be falling away like Rooney's did towards the end. You know, that's natural. His game is not good enough to get into the United team at the moment. But if you take Casemiro when he was at Real Madrid and the first year at Man United, that's the level you want. There is no doubt that his IQ is right, and there is no doubt that his IQ is high and his ability was very, very good. Obviously, I don't expect Renie Heck to start naming players, but I think we are all fully aware that it does come down to football intelligence. It does come down to the ability to learn, and it does come down to that mental aspect of executing something well every single time. And it's interesting how he said even on the 36th attempt, because I was out last night. I was actually having this chat about Arsenal and their corners, and I said, well, look, as a United fan, our corners are absolutely abysmal. Absolutely abysmal. And the amount of times we don't put a good cross into the box is stunning. Absolutely stunning. And then you watch Arsenal with Saka or Rice, and they're putting it in the right spot 10, 12, 13 times. And we can't even do it, you know, 2 or 3 times in a row. That is IQ. That is what it's all about. It's that ability to keep doing things again and again and again and again. And that is where we do fail. And I think that it's a really interesting insight. I mean, I don't think Renie Heck said anything that was really outrageous, but it's always interesting that basically it's the same things that keep coming up. A resistance to change in that playing squad, and also a resistance to consistency through a lack of IQ. And these are not, clippable moments where you can go, oh, look at Goldbridge, negative. These are facts. There is no player named here. In fact, he actually spoke positively about Garnacho, Rashford and Bruno. So the agenda crew can't really do anything with it. And I'm glad that there isn't really a player to pin it on, because ultimately this has been going on for 10 years. And that's the mature conversation, isn't it? That people can't deal with, because people want to pin it on somebody and blame somebody, whether it's a manager or Rashford or Garnacho or Bruno. They want to pin it on a player. We want to pin it on a manager because that makes us feel better. Because the truth is more scary, people. It's really scary when you don't have one thing to blame, and actually it's a cultural thing that infects all for a long time, like a plague. It's been going around for years. And the bottom line is, we can't do quality things consistently because we have a collection of low IQ players who are inconsistent, who are not open to change. Obstructive. An obstructive dressing room. It doesn't mean all players are obstructive, but if you are a glass of water and you are clean, pure from the best source, and somebody drops a little pipette drop of poison into the water, is that water pure? Even though you've got a full glass of pure water, one drop of poison destroys the whole glass. And that, my friends, is the issue at Manchester United. When we talk about a toxic dressing room, I'm sure there's some players who feel offended by that and go, oh, I don't like this. Why am I being tarred with that brush? Well, it's simply because you may well be pure. You may well have an IQ. You may well be the future, but you're in that glass of purity with a drop of poison, and that poisons the whole glass. And that is the problem at Manchester United. Gordon, you just got yourself blocked, mate. Well done. You know why. See you later. Amarim may fail. We're doing that. Get your comments in. Very interested by it to see what you've got to say, because I think that this is something that INEOS and Amarim must end. And the only way to end it is the sacrificial lamb. The sacrificial lamb has to happen. You have to go and do something that rocks that football club. And don't go and sack 200 normal people. Don't go and rise ticket prices for fans. Don't knock Old Trafford down. Go and get rid of a couple of sacrificial lambs from that squad where people go, oh my God, I didn't think they would do that. And can I just draw your attention to what a sacrificial lamb is? It doesn't mean you go and sell the player you don't like. It's what Sir Alex did regularly to keep that squad on its toes. You're on the summer, and then suddenly you're selling Jaap Stam. What? Jaap Stam is one of the best centre-backs in Europe. He's still in his prime. Why are we selling him? Van Nistelrooy? What? Why? Beckham's going? What? That's this. I didn't want Beckham to go. I didn't want Stam to go. I didn't want Van Nistelrooy to go. People of a certain age know what I'm talking about. We weren't, the months before, we weren't going, get rid of Beckham. Oh, get rid of Beckham. He's playing shit. I mean, he literally came on against Real Madrid a couple of months before we sold him and was the best player from the bench. He played brilliant. So this is what I mean about sacrificial lamb. It doesn't have to be a player that you don't like. It's a player that you go, well, I never thought they'd do that. And the dressing room goes, player power's over. That's what we need. That is what we need. Kaladin's gifted 1 membership. Thank you very much. Michael says, high IQ players don't come to Manchester United. They have eyes. Well, they will come. They will come. Because if you change things, they will come. I feel sorry for Ruben, says Stabo. The players are letting him down already. INEOS need to be ruthless and start getting rid of him in January. Hi, Mark. Give this manager absolute power to fire any player he wants and you will see tangible change, says Karen. Well, you know what? Look, I've read a lot about Rashford in the last sort of 24 hours because he was appalling on Thursday night. Universally appalling. Like, as I said, for me, I gave him a 4, I think. I think a lot of people gave him a 3. He got panned by everybody, you know, friends or foe, agenda or no, everybody gave him a really bad score. So ultimately, a low point. There was some footage of him on the bus afterwards with his head in his hands like that, which sparked, quite rightly, a sympathy, because the human element kicks in. And I think many of us feel that there is a human element there that's just, you know, is this the stereotypical boy who gets everything, gets infected by that, and the entourage, and ends up losing the passion for the thing that put him there in the first place. You know, it's a well-known story. But then what happens is this is not EastEnders or Coronation Street. This is Manchester United, competitive football club in 13th place, and a laughingstock. You can have sympathy for a player that's struggling, but what does that do for Manchester United? Like, okay, let's acknowledge the sympathy and we feel sorry for him. Now, what does that do for Manchester United then? So what are we going to do? Start him in the Manchester derby and hope? Like, there's still a ruthless element here. I do feel sorry for him. I thought it was absolutely public disintegration on Thursday. I mean, I think sometimes, you know, people say Rashford shit. He's not shit. You know, some people say he's not good enough to play for bloody Preston. I think he'd be a good signing for PSG. I actually think that the French league's shit. So he'd be playing against worse players week in, week out, with more space. He's got a good shot on him. You know, look at what Greenwood's doing in the French league. You know, he's a good player playing in a league where it's not as competitive. You will thrive. Joey Barton went to the French league and looked bloody decent. So it would be good. It would be good for him to move on. And I think that's the thing. I don't think we need to be guilt-tripped into, oh, he looks really upset, let's keep him at the club as our star boy. No, sod that. I think it's very obvious what needs to happen. And I would say, if you're so unhappy, Marcus, do the thing everybody knows you need to do, which is just a fresh start. If you're not happy at work, get a new job. It's as simple as that. What makes me laugh, and I think it must be called out, there's two things. One, how would he get back? Because I know I know what he needs to do at Man United. I've been saying it for ages. I mean, look, we don't know he's going to get sold, so I'll tell you the thing he needs to do to get back, because we should always offer that. The second thing I would say is, to those absolute morons who are saying it's fans' fault. They've burnt him. The fans have destroyed him. It's all the abuse from the fans that have destroyed him. So where was the abuse when he was scoring goals through COVID, feeding kids, getting awards, writing books? Where was the abuse then? There wasn't any. He was... Everybody loved him. He wasn't getting abuse. The abuse started when he started playing badly. So what was it that made him be up there to down there? I think you need to look at him and ask that question, because fans were not having a go at him when he was doing well. Any professional sports person will tell you, you have to be your own controller, your own biggest critic. If you're blaming others for your downfall, you're never going to climb back up. And that's a lesson in life. If you're blaming other people because of your fall, then they're not going to help you back up. You've got to pick yourself back up. So I don't acknowledge that this is fans' fault. As I've said before, David Beckham got sent off in the 1998 World Cup, and people were putting pictures of him and mannequins of him and booing him and saying stuff about his wife. And, you know, I don't think people realise how bad the 98-99 season was for David Beckham. We won a treble that year. Somebody actually had a dummy of him in an England shirt and hung it from a bridge. Like, he was every away ground, they were screaming and shouting at him, calling his wife all sorts of stuff. Abysmal, absolutely abysmal. He was one of our best players that year, and he won us the treble. And he went on to play for Real Madrid. He went on to captain England. So let's not pretend that fans are responsible for the downfall of players. Players are responsible for their own careers. They're responsible for the journey to the top, and then they're responsible for the journey after that. If they surround themselves with the wrong people, that's something else. Anyway, what I want to say is, Robert McCormack says that wasn't United fans. No, it wasn't, Robert, which is even worse. because it was actual wanting him to fail. Like, it was not Man United fans, and they wanted him to fail, and they wanted to hurt him, and they wanted to cause him problems. Man United fans, in the main, who have a go at Rashford, is because he's not delivering. And if he started scoring a hat-trick, they would turn like the weather. They would change. Beckham's abuse was worse. Rashford gets a lot of abuse, but it's not an excuse. It's not an excuse. People need to stop making excuses for these players. They earn ridiculous money, but that's not the point. The point is, they've been given multiple chances. We're not a charity, Robert. Like, we are 13th in the league, we are shit, and some of us are very tired of that. I look at the way Liverpool run their football club as our biggest rival, and it pisses me off how well they do it. I look at Manchester United, the perennial mistakers. Consistently inconsistent. Constantly making bad decisions. All the time trying to polish turds. Always trying to give people another chance. This doesn't happen at other football clubs. I mean, look, we can break it down to many different levels. Why does Bruno Fernandes take corners? 70% of his corners are shit. Declan Rice is a holding midfielder. 90% of his corners are good. Why is that acceptable at this football club? I'm not saying drop Bruno, but put fucking somebody else who can take a corner on. You know, maybe Delow's got a better corner than him. Maybe Martinez has got a better corner than him. This is what I mean. We're facilitators at this football club of inconsistency. Now, Bruno on corners is a very small thing, but it's still, I mean, Sir David Brailsford sells himself on marginal gains. Well, this is exactly what marginal gains are. Arsenal have implemented a corner system which is so logical. It's amazing it's taken till 2024 for it to happen. If you watched NFL, American football, which I do, it's scripted sport. And what I mean by that is you have the play where they all line up, the ball goes to the quarterback, that's been scripted multiple times by that coach, that attacking coach, for months. And they play different plays. They'll play number 42 or number 41. It's a scripted play. And all you're reliant on is people making the right run and the quarterback quality to throw the right ball. What Arsenal have done on corners is, and maybe because they're American owned, they've basically done something with corners that clubs don't do. Some clubs in the Premier League don't practice corners. Just put it into the mixer, see what happens. What Arsenal do is they've got 7 or 8 people in the box who've been told to make a predetermined run. Some of them are blockers, some of them are going to win the ball. It's very like NFL actually. So some of their players are making a run to barge people out of the way to create space for somebody else who's going to make a run. And then the quarterback is the corner taker who has to put it into a certain area. And Arsenal have revolutionised corners. At Man United, we are shit at defending corners, and we are shit at scoring corners, and we are shit at taking corners. So you talk about marginal gains. You've got Arsenal, who are predetermining scripted corners. They know where people are going to go, they know where the ball's going to go, and they're scoring a lot of goals from it. Correct me if I'm wrong, if you score a goal in a game, that might win you the game. It might only take one goal. And at United, we're like, yeah, Bruno, just whip another cross in and see what happens. Oh, he's not beat the first man again. These are areas where I look at it and I go, we're not serious. Like, we're not serious. The whole fucking football club's not serious. Like, how many players do we keep giving chances to? How many times do we keep going, oh, don't worry about that mistake, try again? There is so much that could be changed at that football club, and it will change the way we look at football as a fan base. Like, if you want to be the best, you've got to implement the best. You've got to have those sacrificial lambs. You've got to make those big decisions. We've got to end this player power. We've got to end this 10-year of reign of terror. And we've got to actually start being a proper football club again. And to do that, there's nothing wrong with being sympathetic, empathetic, compassionate, seeing players as human beings. All those things are absolutely fair game. But in the quest for excellence, and in the quest to be in the top 4 and not 13th, we need to stop behaving like a proper football club, and we need to stop listening to the paid help. If I'm a coach on the training ground and I'm saying we're going to do this and I'm getting feedback I'd rather not, I'd be like, fuck off. But apparently we can't do that. Apparently we can't do that. We can recruit one of the greatest managers that's ever been in Jose Mourinho, and we can empower players to go behind his back to the CEO and get him sacked. These things need to stop. They need to stop. Karen says, the goalkeeping situation we face at the moment is nothing else but our own karma coming back and bite us on a backside. The way we behaved with a club legend, De Gea, was demonic. Okay, Karen. And even if Rashford hits form, we must sell him, says Keel. Oh, I forgot to tell you, just very quickly, because we've got some transfer news about Gutierrez and Tyler Dibbling and a couple of other things as well. I did say I'd say this because I think it's very important to be even-handed. The way many of you are going to disagree with me on this one. I don't know whether Man United are going to sell Rashford or not, but if Rashford was to stay and do well, this is the pathway for him to get back. The thing he is good at is space. When he's got space, he's a decent... That's his thing. Let's not label it. Let's not say he's world class, top class, decent. When Rashford's got space, that's his thing, right? How does Rashford get space? When Ahmad slips it through to him and he's made the run, he's got space to get the shot off. He scores against Everton. Last season against Man City, 30 yards out or something, he's got space, he gets the shot off. Arsenal, I think the same season against Ramsdale, he gets the shot off. Space. When he had the pace, that diagonal ball or ball over the top, running into space, one-on-one, space. Rashford's thing is space. That's what it is. So Rashford's thing is not slow build-up play, little link-up play, one-touch passing, playing between the lines. That's not his thing. So if Rashford wants to get back to being the player or a good player, then he needs to find a way to be in space. So he's got to find that. Now, if you're not going to find it at Man United, you need to find a club where you can find it, because that's the thing. I think he can finish, but I think his whole game nowadays is not about taking people on. I think that's gone. I mean, he still has got it in his locker, but I think people are wary of that. Space is what he needs to find, and you're not going to find space if you're not making the right runs. And he looks too static to me at the moment. So whether that's confidence, injury, lethargy, I don't know. But that is the only way he's going to get back. And if he could do that, he could be a player that doesn't play well, but finds space a couple of times a game and scores 2 goals. Like, he could still be a 20-goal, 25-goal a season player and be quite frustrating to watch because his link-up play is not good, defensively he's not good. But if he could change his game or rediscover his game to find space 2 or 3 times a game, he might score goals. Those players do still exist. I think everybody wants a player that tackles, passes, shows energy, tracks back, and those players do exist. You look at someone like Bruno Fernandes, Wayne Rooney, etc. They never stop. But there are also players that are not in a game, and then they're suddenly in a game, and that is what he needs to do. I sometimes look at Rashford and I think he's trying to be way more than he is. He's almost trying to answer every critic and live up to every expectation, where Marcus Rashford's going to be world class, Marcus Rashford's going to win a Ballon d'Or, Marcus Rashford doesn't run enough, Marcus Rashford doesn't take people on, Marcus Rashford doesn't pass enough. Simplify your game. What are you good at? Space. When you've got space, that's where you have your strength. So take it back to the basics, rip it back to the bones. And if I'm Marcus Rashford and I'm coming on for 20 minutes against Man City, or I'm starting, I'm thinking, I want to find 2 or 3 opportunities today where I'm in space with that ball to do what I do best. That's the way back. And he could still be a useful player for Man United. Last 20 minutes off the bench, find a bit of space, goal. Start in a game, find a bit of space, goal. And that's what it is. But I just think there's just too much thought process going in at the moment. Club is the problem, not just the managers and players, says James. Dan says that fans are in for a rude awakening when he goes and we don't magically get better. Glazer's always had players to distract. Pogba, Ronaldo, Martial. We didn't get better, just a pattern, says Dan. No, I completely agree. I don't think Rashford's the problem. I think he's an issue. I don't think he's the problem. I think there are plenty of issues at Man United. Luke Shaw's an issue. Harry Maguire's an issue because of his contract and his age and his wage. There's plenty of issues at Man United that I don't think solve Man United's problems. I mean, people say get rid of Luke Shaw. We still haven't got a bloody left back. So, no, I do think But I do still stand by a sacrificial lamb, Dan, and I think removing Rashford would be seen as symbolic. That's unfortunate for Rashford, and it's unfortunate for Rashford fans. Same with Luke Shaw. I think if you removed Luke Shaw or you removed Marcus Rashford for different reasons, they are sacrificial lambs, because people would go, wow, they've got quite a few years left on their contract. That is really big. United have never done that before. They symbolise something we haven't done. Removing someone with a massive contract with years left, that's significant. Whether they'll do it though, I don't know. He still needs to utilise the space the best he can, says Mohammed. Would you sell Bruno since he can't play 10 for us, says JG? I wouldn't sell Bruno. I think that's Bruno's best position. Rashford is done mentally. We need to stop being sentimental and move him on, says Dennis. Thank you very much for that. Let's talk a little bit about transfers, because there's a couple of stories. Well, Tyler Dibbling, who is this Southampton teenager who's really exciting, that's been linked to Manchester United. Well, first and foremost, Southampton's manager, Russell Martin, was asked about it and basically said that, he was asked about Man United offering 21 million in January. And he said 21 million wouldn't be enough for his left foot. But he also went on to say that they're struggling to get him to sign a new contract. I think his contract's up in 2027. Look, whether Man United are tracking this player or not, I find it quite funny when a manager comes out and talks like he's the CEO or the director of football. You're not. You're absolutely not. Even if Amarim came out and said, I've heard that Real Madrid want Kobe Mainoo, but for 50 million pounds, that wouldn't be enough for his right foot. Ultimately, Amarim won't make that decision. It'll be INEOS who'd go, 50 million pounds for Mainoo, maybe we'll do it. The manager doesn't. They have a say, but they don't have the final say. So, first and foremost, I couldn't give a toss what Russell Martin says about Man United and Dibbling, because ultimately, if Southampton want to do a deal, they'll do a deal. And let's not forget, he is sending them straight back for the Championship on some solo mission to try and be Vincent Kompany. How shit is Southampton? I mean, we've only won one game away this season, and that was Southampton. They're crap. They've got a manager who is so obsessed with being Vincent Kompany, basically sending a club down but showing off to the world with his style of play. Oh, I had 60% possession again away from home at Newcastle. Look at me, I'm a hipster manager. We're absolutely shit, but look, give me a job. So I'm not interested in what Russell Martin's got to say, because he is the most... it's just Vincent Kompany again, isn't he? Sending a club straight back down on a principle of his style of football that doesn't work. So I'm not interested in what he's got to say. And ultimately, it comes down to Southampton. And ultimately, it comes down to whether Man United are actually in for the lad or not. So, I don't get my knickers in a twist about stuff like that. Certainly not from some hipster manager who should be more focused about getting points in a league and not getting the worst ever Premier League total ever. They've got to be the worst Premier League team in the last decade. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. Rashford should be offered to Napoli for Osimhen, says Selim. Moyes and Van Gaal removed all the old guard equals play power, says Silverback. I don't know about that. Also, we've been linked to Gutierrez of Girona. Hey, Girona. Don't speak to Donny. Look, long time since we've spoken about Gutierrez, actually. I completely forget the... fundamentals of his transfer. I think he has a release clause of about 30 million quid, and I think Real Madrid have got first refusal. Apparently Man United are willing to offer 30 million, which would be impossible for Girona to refuse, according to Spanish reports. Look, this is coming in from Spain. We do need a left wing back. Gutierrez is very good. When we were talking about left backs at the start of last summer, this was the player I liked. We've not really been linked to him for a long time. Suddenly we're linked to him. I think sometimes you go, oh, it's just a load of crap. But then sometimes with INEOS, you go, we've just been linked to a player that we haven't been spoken about for ages. Oh, we're buying him. So, look, I hope that happens. But I'd still question where we're getting the £30 million from. Look, hopefully many of you watched the preview last night. Plettigol was talking about Edison in January as well. How do you do that deal? Atalanta are top of the Italian league. They're doing well in the Champions League, and apparently we're going to take their best player in January. Where's the money coming from? So, look, we might... But then on the other hand, Ruben Amarim's our new manager. Ruben Amarim is INEOS's guy, and you do need to back him. So... maybe there is £100 million floating around in January. I would hope so. We'll have to wait and see. But look, I sit here knowing that you can push a story and feed a story and build a momentum that we all get excited about, and I don't want to do that. I want to be real, but I also want to say that I wouldn't rule anything out in January, because I think INEOS to me as owners are volatile, very volatile, and what that means is you see your director of footballs get sacked after 3 or 4 months. You don't expect it. Ruben Amarim comes in after Ten Hag, and I wasn't expecting it. De Ligt and Mazraoui are coming to Man United. I wasn't expecting it. So the unexpected happens. Doesn't mean it's a positive or a negative. It could be either. So in January, maybe we do sign Gutierrez or Edison. Maybe we buy both. I mean, that would be amazing. Amarim does need that level of support. He does need that sort of a statement. Chelsea have been very impactful in a January transfer window before. So maybe that happens. Financially, I don't know how it works. And on the other hand, we might not do anything, because in the past we've not done anything in the January transfer window. But I would like to think that we could go and make. I mean, look, the more the better. As long as they're the right. I mean, I don't want to do desperate. I don't want to do Weghorst. I don't want to do that. But if we can buy a player that's part of our future, there's nothing wrong with doing it in January. I don't think the January transfer window existed in its current format when we did this, but we have done these types of signings before. When we brought Vidic and Evra, they were January signings, and they didn't start very well, but they were part of our future, and they get those extra months to bed in, which is really important. I mean, on the one hand, the only thing that prevents Man United making significant signings in January is money and availability. Have we got the money, and can you get the player? Everything else makes complete and utter sense. So many of you are saying that this season is basically a competitive pre-season, which it is. Like, we're not getting any training time. I'll tell you what Amarim said about Rasmus in a moment, and it sort of draws your attention to that. We can't train as much as Amarim wants to because we don't have time. So every game is basically a pre-season game. It's almost like a training session. So from now until May, we know it's basically pre-season. And it's a bonus if we can climb the league and do well in the Europa League and gradually get better. So if you're INEOS and Amarim tells you players he wants, why would you wait till the summer? You get them in January because you know this is an elongated pre-season, and the more players you get in now, the better you're going to be at the start of next season because you'll have more rhythm. So it makes total sense for us to do it. It's just whether we can do it financially and availability-wise. So Jim Radcliffe to sign Martin Lewis in January. If you know, you know, Crob. Ericsson is covering the bottom left. He's not anymore. David, he's gone. Thank you very much. Right, this is what Amarim had to say about Rasmus, which also gives us a bit of an insight into what's going on as well. He said, I think we've improved. I told the no, that wasn't it. He said in relation to the team, he said, we are improving in some details. We control transitions. We're aggressive, but the team needs to spend a lot of time near the opposition goal, and it's good to win to prepare the game. And he also said about Rasmus, that's not what I wanted to read. I'm on the wrong bit. It was way more expansive than that. Apologies. Where was it? Okay. Yeah, this was it. It was about Rasmus. He basically said that he's controlling the ball better, and he's getting involved in the link-up better, and he's making better runs, which we've been working on in training, but it's going to take time because we don't have a lot of time to do things, and we're starting to see the improvements from the things that we're telling them to do, that they're having to learn to do in a real game situation, which is obviously a lot more competitive than a training situation where we don't have the time to do these things. I think it's really insightful from Amarim, because we are very much learning on the job, and that is not usual. The only other manager I can think of that's done this really well was Emery at Aston Villa. It's really difficult to come in and implement ideas when you don't have time or a transfer window. And I think we're starting to see that. But I've said this for a while about Rasmus. I just think that when you've got a manager that's done what he's done with Gyökeres, and you look at the profile of Gyökeres, and you look at the profile of Rasmus, and then you look at the age of Rasmus, you think, well, there is a real opportunity between here and the summer, when you've got to make a decision about Gyökeres, to see what you can do with Rasmus. And I think under Ten Hag, especially this season, you're always going to defend Rasmus, well, I am, in relation to chances. We don't create enough chances. But what was hard to defend him on was his hold-up play was really bad under Ten Hag this season. And what we've seen over the last few weeks is that his hold-up play is a lot better. He's holding the ball up, he's laying it off, he's retaining possession. But the insight is that I can see that, and Amarim acknowledges that, but then he also says he's making the runs that we're telling him to make, and we're starting to see that. Now, that wasn't something I was fully aware of, and that is something that we're probably now seeing as well. He's starting to make runs that Amarim is telling him to make. Now, obviously, I still don't see a massive increase in chances created, but maybe that's going to be the next step, because that is the holy grail for Amarim. Like, this is a problem that's been at the club for 5-6 years. And if he's making Amarim's making Rasmus make runs, we're not seeing the end product, because we're not seeing the service, and maybe that's what Rasmus was pissed off about with Ahmad, because he knows he's made the right run. He's made that run that Amarim's told him to make, and then he's not getting the ball. I can understand Rasmus's frustration. You can see that Amarim is telling him to make these runs, but everyone needs to wind back a little bit, because go back to what Amarim says, we're having to learn things in slow motion, and it's going to take time. His next biggest thing is to get players to make the right passes. We know this. Like, we know this. The service ball is terrible. It's really bad, and that is something that we absolutely have to work on. Just on the whole Ahmad Rasmus thing that got absolutely blown up out of proportion, Ahmad did a social media post about it, basically with a heart and Rasmus. So, I mean, can't believe people wanted to turn that into something, really. What about prospects on the free market, says Dennis? I mean, I don't mind Man United going for a free transfer as long as it's something that that suits us. I mean, as I said, I don't want to do something like a Weghorst. I don't want to do that. What a show this morning. I'd just forgotten, actually. Debut for the new glasses. Bit of a red. I thought I went for them because I thought I wear my glasses a lot on streams, and I've put a bit of red on there. I definitely bleed red. That still keeps bleeding. So yeah. What are your thoughts? Can always go back to the old ones. Why is no one talking about the answer to our left side problem? Leif Davies is a defensive creative machine, says Victoria Bishop. Good suggestion. Good suggestion. I don't know why. G-Man says Ten Hag's recruitment was really underwhelming. I disagree. I think Agate, Delit, Mazraoui, Rasmus, Martinez, Yoro, Ericsson was a good free. I just think Andy Carroll ended it. I don't think Ten Hag's... Remember what I always say before I go. If you as a manager have a 60% transfer success rate, you've basically done what Pep's done and everyone else has done. Like, no manager, 60% is basically the industry standard. If you can have a 60% transfer success rate, then you're pretty much on. And I think he achieved that. I mean, I think when you look at Mourinho's recruitment, that one was probably worse. There's an interesting sort of content piece there, isn't there? Because I think you don't really analyse a transfer for 2 years. Because I look at Mourinho, Zlatan, Bailly, Pogba, Mkhitaryan, year one looked brilliant. By the middle of year two, Zlatan had gone, and the other three were starting to say, fucking hell. So I don't think you can't judge a transfer until year two anyway. I mean, look at Anthony. Failure, isn't it? But I would never have said that. That's why with Xerxes, I'm like, it's not a failure. In year two, I've seen so many players. Look at Vidic and Evra. I've seen so many players start badly and come good. Thanks everyone for watching. Just to let you know the story for today, I'm really excited. Christmas is coming. Very, very great. Fantastic. Super. But 3 o'clock that's football today. I love the 3 p.m. watch along. It's chaos. There's so many games going on. It's basically just reaction to goals going in. I'm live on That's Football for that. And obviously we've got the Manchester derby tomorrow. Got a video coming up for you tonight as well. I think you're gonna, if you're not someone who leaves a comment, I always like the comments because they're normally good. The video we're gonna be doing tonight, I think will generate a lot of comments. It's a very, very, even if you don't have an opinion on this, it's a divisive topic. But even if you sit there and go, no, you won't draw me in, I guarantee you'll want to make a comment, because I just think the way we're going to put it, it really is a community, right, what do you think? And try and be fair about it. And it's not about Rashford, so get ready. Okay, we've done that one. Yeah, so join me on That's Football at 3 o'clock if you're about. Maybe you're decorating, wrapping presents, whatever. That's absolutely fine. And make sure you give a comment on here. And can I just say as well, we are on the road. I need to change this. We are on the road to 2 million subscribers. We are only 30 subscribers away from 985. So we could be going into the Manchester derby with a 15k countdown, which is amazing. So please do keep subscribing, keep sharing. Absolute legends as per usual. And I'll speak to you a little bit later. Thanks for tuning in this morning. Sorry we were a little bit late, but me and Seb went into Solihull to the John Lewis there, because they've got these quality street things, you know, like tins of sweets, chocolates. So you can buy a tin and then you can put the chocolates in you wanted. So he's been going on about it. So I thought, there's no way I'm going in after the morning show. It will be absolutely carnage. So we went in really early, which is why we're a little bit late. Thanks everyone for watching. I'll speak to you all in a bit. Take care.